In 1967, Officer Robert Salas was serving in an Air Force bunker controlling some of the deadliest weapons on Earth.
First, I was a weapons controller and then went on to missile duty at Malmstrom as a missile launch officer.
Malmstrom Air Force Base is located in Montana. It housed missiles that were armed with nuclear warheads in the event of a nuclear attack. It was really one of the most important Air Force bases in the United States during the Cold War.
The stakes are high, and the responsibility is enormous.
We had 15 launch control centers at Malmstrom Air Force Base, and each had control of 10 nuclear missiles.
In one of these secure locations, Robert Salas and his partner had their fingers on the nuclear trigger.
It was 60 feet underground, right below the guardhouse. Take an elevator down. The capsule was made of reinforced concrete, able to withstand a nuclear blast topside. The launch facility was surrounded by fencing. We also had motion sensors everywhere. If given the order, we would have launched missiles. By the way, each missile had the capability of 800 kilotons of TNT. The weapons that they used at Hiroshima and Nagasaki were about 15 kilotons. Nearly 100,000 people lost their lives from those explosions, so you can imagine the damage that would have been done from an 800 kiloton bomb.
There are few positions in the world that bear the responsibility that a nuclear launch code officer has.
We needed to be fairly reliable because if we had decided without orders to launch missiles, we could have done that. We could have actually launched 10 nuclear missiles. We had 6 guards, fully armed, upstairs. We felt pretty good that no one could really get access to the weapon systems.
But on this fateful day, UFOs would challenge everything.
First thing that happened is I got a call from my topside guard. They said there's strange lights in the sky flying above the facility, moving very fast. He doesn't hear any engine noise. They were stopping in midair and reversing course, which airplanes don't do. I even said, "You mean like UFOs?" I had no idea that things would get pretty dramatic very shortly.
And it won't be the only time mysterious craft penetrate and threaten nuclear security.
F.E. Warren Air Force Base is one of several very important United States bases that have nuclear weapons. On October 23rd, 2010, the base was not able to communicate with about 50 of their ICBM missiles. The Air Force stated that it was only for about 59 minutes. The shutdown of communications was much longer. But maybe even more importantly was the fact that there was a large cigar-shaped UFO that was over that base at the time of the communication breakdown in which they could not control those nuclear missiles.
If these craft are coming in and interfering with our systems, that is a huge message that we can control all of your technology and you are essentially defenseless.
Every now and then, one of these unknown objects is in the vicinity where nuclear missiles go offline or where we just lose control over them. There are obvious parallels between the situation at Warren in 2010 with Malmstrom Air Force Base back in March of 1967.
I got the second call, and this time things were very serious upstairs. because he was screaming into the phone, literally frightened. He said they had all the guards out, their weapons drawn. Looking at this glowing and pulsating reddish orange colored light about 40 feet in diameter. It was hovering just above the front gate, and they were scared to death.
Emotions run high as Robert, deep underground with little information, is faced with a conflict that could snowball into thermonuclear war and total global destruction.
I thought someone was attacking the facility.
If you want to send a very dramatic message, you hit your enemy where they feel they are the strongest, and that would have been our nuclear arsenal.
He was screaming into the phone, wanted me to tell him what to do. I think I said something like, make sure nothing comes into the fenced area, use whatever force necessary. We had a display panel of what the status of our missiles was. And I looked over there just to see that, get reassured that all our missiles were still green and ready to launch. And at that point, we get klaxons and bells going off in the capsule. That's an indication that something was wrong with our missiles. So we looked over at the board, and we saw our missiles turning from green to red, meaning they were unlaunchable, disabled, no go. It's a very dangerous situation.
To be able to fly right into a nuclear facility, somehow get control of our technology, and it shut them off like a light switch.
It's petrifying to know that they have the ability to do that.
I looked over at the board, and bing, 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 they were all going from green to red. So while this object was still up there, we lost all 10 missiles.
What you had was this moment where if the Russians had launched nuclear missiles at the United States, Malmstrom Air Force Base would not be able to respond with a counterattack.
Raising the unfathomable stakes, the loss of missile control isn't the only problem.
Along with the no-go indications at 2 of the launch facilities, we had lights indicating intrusions.
As this security crisis with global implications unfolds, Robert Salas and his team are left terrified and confused. But how could any UFO and its unseen voyagers so easily disarm these nuclear missiles?
They're heavily secured, and they have backup systems to ensure nothing goes offline and no incidents occur.
The object would have had to send a signal through 60 feet of earth and concrete and penetrate the cabling system, which we had to each missile. This was triply shielded against electromagnetic interference. So it would have to do that individually to each missile, and within seconds.
It's a shocking realization with gut-wrenching possibilities.
I don't think this could have been anything terrestrial.
Something happened that made those missiles go offline for an entire day. That should never have happened.
The national security implications ripple way out beyond Malmstrom Air Force Base.
The initial message that went out from Strategic Air Command said the fact that these 10 missiles went down for no apparent reason is of grave concern to this command. Air Force Office of Special Investigations said we would never speak of this at all under pain of penalty of prison.
We do hear lots of stories of people being told not to talk about their sightings.
After the incident, we never heard another word about it. They also had an incident in Ukraine in 1982 where they actually started a nuclear missile on its launch sequence and then shut it down before it launched.
But is UFO interest in our nuclear facilities a threat? Maybe they're just watching us, for now.
You may want to know, are we going to be a nuisance? Do we have the capability of being an actual hassle for them? So that's enough to get their attention right there.
They could have done a lot more damage to our missiles. They did not. The message I take from all of that is they would like to see us get rid of our nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are not weapons of war. They are weapons of annihilation.
A lot of sightings happen around military bases. I think a lot of ufologists would say that's because there's aliens here monitoring these bases and making sure that we're not doing anything that's going to cause such destruction as what we did with Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
I heard in 2018 there was indeed another UFO incident at Malmstrom Air Force Base. Why the ETs persist on giving us these situations is because we persist on producing nuclear weapons.